Hosting provided by Host Tornado. They offer website hosting packages, dedicated servers, and VPS solutions. Host.t.net.
Programming Throwdown, Episode 19, Basic. Take it away, Jason.
Hey everyone, so I just got back from Tahoe. For people who don't know, Lake Tahoe is a lake that sits on the border of California and Nevada. And is that right?
I think so, yes.
I've done a lot of driving. But basically, it's pretty fun. They have you can go skiing in winter. In the summer, you can go hiking and rafting and things like that. And so we went rafting. We actually saw a black bear that literally jumped in the water and started coming towards the raft, and we started freaking out, but he didn't make it all the way to the raft. So he got about 10 feet away, and then he turned around and ran back. But we were
lucky for all the inhabitants of the raft, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we were wondering who we should feed the bear.
Well, the thing is, you don't have to be able to outrun the bear, just the slowest person.
Yeah,
what happens if you're in a raft, though?
If you're in a raft, you just have to be able to throw one person into the bear. So
okay.
You have to be the most liked. The most disliked person. It's a huge disadvantage.
Do you have time to take a vote?
Yeah, you could pretty much vote someone off.
I think it just makes whoever's the strongest, right? Just throw the weakest person off.
Maybe, but you can maybe be clever about it. Hey, get the camera, and then push them in or something, and they're not looking. So there's an opportunity to be crafty here and save yourself, as in many dangerous situations in life.
Oh man, this conversation's not going anywhere good. Yeah. So bears and rafting.
So we saw a bear.
Near-death experiences. Okay.
So first the bear jumps in the water.
This is why I don't go outside.
Oh yeah.
Just stay inside. Look at these things on YouTube.
Sometimes bears can come inside though. You have to be careful.
I locked my front door. I don't know.
Yeah. So the bear jumps out from the bushes straight out of Duck Hunt or something, bear hunt.
That was a dog. The dog comes out of the
yeah, you're right.
Dog and the ducks.
Yeah. So straight out of Bear Hunt, the Duck Hunt hack. I don't know. So we're on the raft and go a couple more miles, and then take a guess what comes flying out of the forest and jumps in the river.
A salmon.
A car. And it really isn't funny, but no one was hurt, so I guess it is funny. But seriously, a car just goes right veering off the road and just crashes into the bank of the river while we're on the raft. So
were you in a Monty Python real life experience?
It was just unbelievable. So windshield's totally smashed, but the people were okay. And
were they in the car when it went?
There was a driver in the car, and they got out, and so it was pretty intense. And then
I'm never going anywhere at these places when you're around, because apparently.
So I've been rafting twice, and the time before a gigantic sequoia tree almost crushed us. So I think we're never going to go rafting again.
Yes.
Yeah, it's 2 for 2 crazy things
happening. Stay away from me.
So, hey, you want to go rafting?
No. Unless it's on the Wii.
That's right. You can go rafting on the Wii U, which is coming out in a couple of months.
Oh, I didn't even realize I was segueing. So what's different about the Wii U?
So I haven't read too much about it, but I am posting this article. And basically, from what I've read, the controllers have a touchscreen on them. And so this, did you ever use that thing where you could hook up your Game Boy Advance to the GameCube? Did you ever do that? And they had Zelda 4 Swords and some other games. Oh, okay. So this was totally awesome. This is way ahead of its time, because nobody has 4 Game Boy Advances, right? So the idea is you could play this game called Zelda 4 Swords, and you would use your Game Boy Advance as connected to the GameCube, and on your screen you would have private information like the map, which you're revealing, but you don't want other people to see. And so as you explore the map, as your Zelda character explores the map, you start to understand where the switches are and how to get past the door and stuff. But you don't want to give that information out because you want to be the first one to the finish. So that game was totally awesome. Loved it. The Wii U is going to come out with games like that. They've already announced they're going to make a Zelda, pretty much like a 4 Swords kind of game. So really looking forward to it. I think it's
so you're going to buy one?
Awesome. So, I'm going to do what I did with the Wii, where I'm not going to be lining up at the door, killing myself, to get one. But, after, the hype has died down, maybe 6 to 8 months, the controllers come down in price, Yeah, I'll probably get one. What about you?
No.
You're not gonna get one?
No. I mean, maybe when it goes to $49.99 or $100 or something.
How much is it right now?
It looks like 300.
300.
That's what I just saw.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I mean, what I want is to be able to do that, but with my phone.
Yeah, totally.
So like, I have a phone, I have tablets, probably too many.
Yeah.
And everybody I know has them as well. Why can't I do it with that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I feel
connect
exactly
over
the same way.
Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or whatever, and I feel like that would be super awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I'd give my right arm for just like something that would like hold my phone, like have a little cradle for the phone, but it would be a gamepad.
They have those.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think for the iPhones,
man.
I think.
Oh man, where can I give my right arm?
Uh-oh.
They have
Well, they even have the retro arcade cabinet thing you can put your iPad in.
Oh, I've seen
and it has
that.
like a joystick and the actual mechanical buttons. And
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah. And I think it connects over Bluetooth.
Oh, okay.
So
that
it's
makes
actually
sense.
so I mean, I'm sure they have a gamepad or something like that. I think I've seen them before.
Yeah, it has to be small form factor. That's the key, or it has to like fold in on itself. Or
So like
something.
you can put it in your pocket.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be some really cool things coming out for gaming, but
Yeah.
I find myself just playing a lot more casual games than sitting down and playing it. Just I guess where
me
I
too.
am in my life, maybe, I don't know.
I've been
It's
playing
sad. I'm getting
the
old.
Sims free version on the Android phone, and it's pretty wild. So this Sims, you can't speed up time, and everything takes real time.
Farmville.
So it is kind of like Farmville. It's true, but
You have been hacked, sir.
My
You have been
brain-
exploited.
my brain
Prepare
has
for your
been
wallet to drain.
Yeah, and it's constantly like
Because you can speed up time if you have money.
yeah, that's right. If
All
you have
right,
money,
there we
you
go.
do
See, I
anything.
knew there was a trick to this.
Yeah, of course. So like I put all the Sims to bed at night, like right when I'm going to go to bed. And so there's something kind of creepy but cool about that. But then it's like, hey, your Sims could stay up all night, gaining experience if you paid like, $1 or something.
To Chinese workers who farmed them for you all night. That wasn't. I'm leading into the next story. I wasn't actually trying to be
okay.
mean to Chinese people.
No, that's true. Chinese workers do provide a lot of valuable service to us.
So
And,
you recently learned about that?
Yeah, and there's an amazing tech talk. You guys should totally check it out. I'm going to have a link to it. And the tech talk title is The Voice of China's Workers. And just supremely interesting story. I'll just cover some of the most interesting parts. One is all of them walk around, like all of the workers, they go home to visit their families and stuff. And they bring with them like iPads and Coach purses and stuff like that. And like designer Coach purses. Because since they work in the factory, they get these at like ridiculous prices. So like this lady, she said,
ones with little blemishes, or just like
well, possibly it
Okay.
wasn't said, but but yeah, this reporter was like, she had followed like several of these women who worked in a Coach purse factory, and yeah, after 6 months they gave her like just 20 or 30 Coach purses and some other stuff, and she's like, no, give this money to your family, and they're like, what are you talking about? Like, this is like 13 cents or something to us, and there's like 100x markup. That same Coach purse sold for like $1,200 or something. And so and they actually, they're not oblivious. They know how much the things are sold for in America. And
But
in fact,
they can't, like, there's no way for them to be able to sell them there.
yeah, exactly. And so they walk around saying like, this Coach purse sells for $6,000 in
Like
America.
it's like the equivalent of like leaving the price tag on.
Yeah, exactly. They leave the American price tag on, like the purse and stuff, but they couldn't sell it for $1.
I guess it's always the interesting thing, right? People talk about that we put so much value on things in dollar amounts, but then like if you're stranded on a desert island, like that stuff's worthless to you. Like you
Yeah.
don't have food and water, and it's like it's really all relative.
Yeah.
Like how much something's worth. So if if you're in China and there's nowhere for you to sell them, and these purses are in high supply and they don't hold value, you can't do anything with them except maybe like burn them for like fuel to heat
Burn-
yourself, or
Yeah,
try to
totally.
like trade them for other, like collect them all like Pokemon or something. Like
Yeah.
this is not like I don't know, like
Totally. The other interesting thing is a lot of them don't feel like they're being mistreated. Like the hours are harsh, but there's I guess in the Chinese culture, they're used to working like really long hours, even when they work in the fields. Like a lot of them come from rural backgrounds where they worked a lot of hours there. They said that the thing that they really want is education. And then it's really hard for these factory workers to even like learn English and things like that.
Because it takes a lot of time. Like you have to spend a lot of time to learn.
Yeah, and there's just no opportunities. Like there's just they don't have classes or anything like that. And so I thought that was interesting, And in fact, the beginning of the talk was like, you guys are going to think that these workers are oppressed and they're just like slaving away. But the reality is that the things they want aren't what you think they'd want. And I thought, the whole thing is interesting. You guys should definitely check it out.
Yeah. And we definitely weren't trying to be mean to anybody.
No, not at all. Yeah. And you can check it out by connecting your Raspberry Pi up to your television if you have one.
Yeah, did you get yours or did you never actually order one?
No, I ended up, basically I just decided I was either going to get a Raspberry Pi or an iPhone developer's license. Because they're both around the same amount.
Okay.
And so I just went with the iPhone developer's license.
Okay, I see. So Raspberry Pi, we've talked about these small devices before. And they finally come into, I guess, wide-scale distribution after having like a huge back order and not making them in very high quantities. And so people are started to come out with interesting projects. And this one is a guy at a university and his son built a supercomputer out of Raspberry Pis and Legos. So
awesome.
The son had actually been learning programming through one of MIT's like more visual programming languages called Scratch. I don't know much about it. Maybe we'll have to look into it in the future. Add it to the list.
Add it to the list. Scratch.
And so they networked them all together. They put all the high performance computing stack on it. Things like MPI, message passing interface. Hopefully.
Yep.
Okay.
Totally.
Things like that. And the interesting thing is they didn't have a lot of performance statistics that I saw in the article reading briefly. But what's interesting is that it's very difficult for universities or small scale people to learn how to write programs for this style of computing. So even if it's not a top 100 supercomputer that you're building, just having something that's more than 5 or 6 machines, but something that is like 20, 30, 40 machines, and understanding where the bottlenecks are and how to write code for that and how to optimize. That's like very important to do, but could be very expensive. And so this person spent about $4,000, it said, to make this, and it'll be a invaluable learning tool. Now, $4,000 is a little bit much for like a side hobby, so it's probably hopefully for the university itself, but it's definitely an awesome learning experience that speaks to the interesting things you can do with stuff like this. I'd also
this picture is amazing. You guys should definitely read this article.
Yeah, so they built the racks and cases out of Lego.
It's phenomenal.
It is really cool. And then hooked them all together with.
It's amazing that the circuit board is like laid out in such a way where the Lego could perfectly fit. That's
it's also interesting that it's like the scale, right? Like how small it is that Legos are about the right size. You don't need. It's like 4 or 5 Legos, like 3 Legos in one dimension and like 4 Legos in the other. It's like not a lot of Legos that you need.
Look at the power adapter. This is so awesome.
We can see that Jason read the stories in advance.
I'm totally busted.
It is very interesting. And the other thing I'd be curious is people doing, and I've seen some stuff similar with Amazon, their cloud computing, right? So bringing up a bunch of computers there so you can practice and do large-scale supercomputing style work and kind of learn and work on it.
Actually, along those lines, there's this thing called Common Crawl. Have you seen this?
No.
So Common Crawl is a 60 terabyte snapshot of the internet.
Oh.
And so what you can do, they have code contests constantly with different themes, which is kind of fun. But if you have an Amazon account, which if you're a student, you can get one at a discount or even free. You can write sort of algorithms that work on the entire internet and they run on Amazon EC2. And so Common Crawl is a way to sort of make it easy for people to write things like, what's the co-occurrence matrix of every word on the internet, or let's try and do something cool with like all of the Twitter data that's public, or things like that. So they do a lot of fun stuff. You guys should definitely check out Common
Interesting.
Crawl.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
It's another way to sort of like teach people about super parallel.
Yeah, I mean big data, right? Like I guess that's the buzzword for it, but it really is important. We see it out here being where we are in California. Everything's all about big data.
Yeah.
And how
billboards on the side of the road.
Yeah, it's crazy, but it is true. Like you have to take special care when you get into data that starts off the sentence like, for every website in the web counts the number of times a word occurs, right? How do you handle that? What data structures do you use? This is very valuable, and it is a good skill to have if you're trying to learn stuff.
Yeah, totally.
So our final news article is kind of a little bit silly, but somebody wrote about making a Turing-complete computer using 3 Magic the Gathering cards. So Magic the Gathering brings a little nostalgia for me. Is a collectible card game. So it's a card game that has all these different kinds of cards, and some are rare and very rare, and some are very common. And there's a set of rules, and basically you try to build up a deck that's your favorite deck. And you play your buddies with your cards and see who's the best or whatever. This was before the internet was really big. Well, maybe it was different than it was today. So we had to spend time outside.
Did you get into it?
So Intuit was different. I never so it can be very expensive to acquire the very rare cards and stuff. Although they've gone up in value, I kind of wish I had bought them and then sold them today. But we would play. We would go to the store that sold them and buy the pack of common cards, the box of 400 for $5, and then we would just play games. My brothers and I, right?
I did the same thing.
The really cheap stuff, and our decks were horrible, right? But it didn't matter because as long as everybody else's deck is horrible, it's still fun.
Yep.
So anyways, if you've never heard of it before, you can check it out. They recently released a program for Magic the Gathering that has a lot of cards in it and hosts games online. So I think they have an iPad, iPhone, and it's actually, considering how much it can be to buy a real deck and kind of play it, it's fairly affordable.
Do you have to pay per card?
So the way I think it works is you can buy pre-constructed decks of cards, or you can pay for random things similar to buying booster packs or whatever. Which is kind of interesting. Maybe we'll have to talk about gaming sometime because a lot of cool games. But so this person found essentially Turing Complete is named after Alan Turing, who showed that there exists a computer that if it can do a certain set of routines, can perform any computing function, can compute anything that's possible or whatever. So it's essentially showing that if you have a programming language or a computer that's Turing Complete, that given enough time and possibly infinite time, it can accomplish any given computing task.
Right.
And so this person had 3 cards with unique properties that involve counters. And the idea of a Turing machine is it's a tape head moving on an infinite tape and kind of storing data in one place, and then having an instruction that tells it what to move left or right, or and then what to do when it gets there, that kind of thing. And so they were able to do that with these 3 cards. This is kind of interesting. It's kind of silly, but it's kind of fun to read about. And
it's amazing.
See what people do these things every once in a while. Build a working computer out of Legos or ball bearings or, Magic the Gathering cards.
Did you see the one in Minecraft that was made out of Minecraft animals in water?
I haven't seen that one, no. I've seen the ones where they use what is that called? Redstone, and make the wires. And actually, people built a game. So it have a giant screen that displays stuff and has a graphics processing unit and everything. Awesome. Oh, man, it's such crazy.
That's great.
I guess that's one of those things that people say about Guitar Hero or whatever. If you spend that much time playing Guitar Hero, you should just learn to play real guitar. That's not exactly the truth. But it's the same thing if you spend that much time creating Minecraft things, that's crazy. It's awesome and it's dedication and they're having fun, so more power to them. I don't think, but it's wow. I wonder what other stuff you could do with that much time.
Yeah, I noticed. I was watching a YouTube video the other day where somebody had a Minecraft. I guess you could export your world and send it to people and they could import it. And this guy had made a world which was a RPG. Oh. And you had to the thing is, the onus was on you to follow the rules. Of course you could just punch your way through the wall and be done. But assuming you followed the rules, it was this pretty fun, semi-random RPG. And I thought that was awesome. And so I think there needs to be a database of Minecraft worlds.
There probably is, dude. There's everything.
Yeah,
so it's so interesting, Minecraft, that the guy Marcus Pierce, is it Marcus Pierce?
Yeah, Marcus
Notch?
Person. Or
I don't know. Okay. Yeah. They call him Notch or whatever it is. He made something that it took him some time and work, and he's kind of become famous. But a lot of it is due to the openness. Not just the game is an open world, but it's open to modification and sharing levels and hacking save games and creating macros and people. And he kind of incorporates stuff that people do and like brings it back in. And now he doesn't actually work on it anymore. He has his team works on it or whatever, and he does other stuff.
Yeah, he's working on that space
The
sim,
space
right?
one, yeah. I don't know how you say it, but you can
Yeah,
look
I
it
don't know
up.
how to say it.
It is kind of similar. So it's interesting that he embraced the openness of the community so much, and that they've really kind of embraced him back. And
Yeah.
people see these crazy YouTube videos and then go buy a copy of his game, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was thinking about getting it for the phone. I just don't know how good it's going to be.
I have it for my Xbox.
Oh,
And the cool
really?
thing about the Xbox is, since the game really is meant to kind of run in like 640 by 480 or 800 by 600, because it's really pixelated and blocky, so you can make it bigger, but you're not really getting any more data on the screen.
Right.
And so I have like a nice TV, HD resolution, and the Xbox can push that, so you can actually play 4 players simultaneously on one screen,
Wow.
like sitting there with Xbox controllers, and although your screen gets smaller, right? Like you still have the same data that's on there.
Yeah.
And
that
so
makes
it works
sense.
pretty well. So
That's
I
cool,
play
man.
with people sitting in the same room, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, that's great.
But I don't
I'll
have it on
try
my
that.
phone yet.
Yeah, I'll probably get the demo maybe today or tomorrow and see
All
how
right.
it
So,
is.
so if you don't do any work for
Yeah,
the next week or
exactly.
two,
So the reason why I don't have it on my phone is because of our tool of the bye week.
tool of the. We didn't say it in sync. Okay, continue.
Our 3, 2 tool.
I missed it again. Okay,
Oh,
just
yeah.
continue. Just go.
All right. So my tool of the bye week is actually game Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup.
Are you gonna waste more of my time? Like, am I literally
This
going
is-
to risk getting fired for not doing work?
This might cause you to get fired, but it'll be worth it. You'll be a
Wait, how
happy
can you determine
fired.
if it's worth it for me?
Actually, worth it might not be the best choice of words. But so I picked this for a number of reasons. One is it has an awesome tutorial, which is something that like roguelikes, which this is a roguelike, are notoriously bad at. Like if you go to play NetHack, it starts off, pick your role, pick your race. You don't know what any of them really are. And then it's like, go.
Yeah,
and
try
it's like,
Dwarf Fortress.
Yeah, Dwarf Fortress is the worst. Right? I would kill to have an awesome tutorial.
They have
on
a
Dwarf
book
Fortress.
that people are like raving about. That
Really?
like it's kind of crazy. You have
Like
to
a
read like a book,
Textbook.
It's like a Dwarf Fortress for idiots or something.
like an O'Reilly
Idiots Guide.
book, has an owl on
no,
it.
No, actually, I think it is O'Reilly, but it's not an owl. Like it's. All right, I'm gonna look it up right now. But
that's
I'm really
amazing.
tempted to buy it because everybody who gets in this game just says it's amazing.
Yeah,
And like all
Dwarf
these like really
Fortress-
famous people,
Yep.
like even Notch, right? Like the guy
Yep.
who made Minecraft. Like he took inspiration from. Like it's so.
Dwarf Fortress, my favorite game of all time. For people who don't know, it's amazing. But yeah, you're right. Gigantic learning curve.
Yeah, I really want to get into it, but
Yeah.
it's like I'd have to invest so much time just to get started, and then like that's only the tip of the iceberg. Then I'm gonna spend tons more time
Yeah.
exploring it.
The reason why Dwarf Fortress is great, just if I had to say it in one sentence, it would be, it takes like the best of Minecraft, which is like creative, like building part, but it puts it in an environment where you really want it. It puts it in a sim. Like in Minecraft, you have to actually walk across the map, right? Or like you have to build a house, and you know what you want to build, but you have to click on all the blocks, right? So Dwarf Fortress, you can lay out like a little floor plan and give orders, and then your guys can go around, doing these little orders. And also, it has permadeath, because you have all these dwarfs and you're getting like a new supply of dwarfs. If you make a mistake, like you dig too deep and there are monsters you can't handle, your dwarfs die. And so that permadeath gives you like a level of suspense that I feel like you don't really have as much in Minecraft. So,
Wow. So
totally awesome.
the book is called "Getting Started with Dwarf Fortress" by O'Reilly. I've heard good things about it. Like people like it's supposed to be really really good. So if you're interested in Dwarf Fortress and like wasting
I'm
months of your life,
definitely buying that book.
if you do, let me know how it goes.
Yeah, I'll loan it to you once. I'm
Okay,
done
all right,
reading it.
there you go. No, please don't. My wife might like not be very happy with you or me. And also not just Marcus Persson.
Yeah.
Perr. Anyways,
Yeah.
So we're probably saying it wrong, but it's
Nah.
okay.
We're giving him credit.
So back to your topic,
Oh,
which
yeah.
I totally derailed.
So yeah, no worries. So this has Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup has an amazing tutorial, and it teaches you about getting started with the game, the different keys. Some things that a lot of people who play NetHack and Slash them, these roguelikes, the thing they don't realize is if you hold shift and you move a direction, your character will walk that many steps until he either like hits a wall or hits like something interesting. And so a lot of people don't know that, and so they keep hitting like left, 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 and they're just wasting a lot of time, because the game is like kind of turn-based. It's like designed for you to be able to sort of macro, and there's all these macros, and they're all common across all these roguelikes. So Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup's a way to sort of get you in there and get you like working in roguelikes, playing roguelikes like at the pace they're meant to be played, and just getting like a ton more fun out of your roguelike. On top of the tutorial, it's also just an all-around great game. Like I haven't played a lot of it yet, but has like a wide array of different spells and abilities you can use, and races and classes. And
yeah, I've heard good stuff about this as like an introduction to roguelikes.
Yeah,
it's
totally.
supposed to be really good, but it's also really deep, right? Like,
yeah, definitely. I have it on my phone, and so it's been pretty fun.
I'm looking at the screenshots and how deep and cool and nerdy this looks. There's something appealing. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, right, something that looks very difficult and very nerdy and like elitist. Like, you want to do it just because like you want to. It's like, what do they call it? Wearing the hair shirt or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like you want to put on the thing that's itchy and bothers you just to like prove like, I am elite nerd.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they post the high scores, and they post a list of all the people who have completed the game online. So that can get pretty addictive. Like, you want to be on that list.
I don't think so.
Oh, really?
I think that's like you make it there and you feel so proud of yourself for like a day. And then you look at it and you're just like, It's like getting the high score on an arcade game until they reset it, right? Like, and then
I'm
it's
still
like,
proud of. So NetHack has a server of it, like this sort too, and I've ascended in NetHack on the server, and I'm still proud of it to this day. Like, I still every now and then I look back and I'm like, yeah,
good job, sir. Pat on the back.
And Slash'em, which is a harder version of NetHack, also has this, and I've tried, on
You,
and
sir,
off
are a
for
far
half
better
of my
nerd than
life, and I've never done it. Never ascended in. One time I went like halfway, which is like 40 hours of gameplay. And
I don't. By the way, if you're a game developer or thinking about becoming a game developer, please stop putting how many hours I've played your game.
Oh, I know.
Please stop.
It's so bad.
Please
Why
stop.
do that?
Don't do that.
Steam does that on all the games now, and it just makes me depressed every time I look at it.
Yeah. Okay. My tool of the bye week is not a game.
Yeah.
It's Wireshark.
That's a great tool.
So Wireshark used to be called something before Ethereal.
That's right.
Yeah. So this is the kind of thing that you either love and you use it all the time, or you hate and you've never used it before, or like you get into a bind and you don't know how to do something or what to do, and then you use this. And that is anytime you're going to do like network programming. And it's so hard to tell what's happening when you try to open that socket and it just doesn't work. You don't know if packets are getting there. Are they malformed? Like what's going on? And Wireshark is kind of the answer to that.
Or if you're like using BitTorrent and it's telling you, hey, your port is closed or whatever, and you just can't seem to figure it out, like Wireshark will tell you like, oh, you have packets coming out of your computer, so it must be somewhere else in the chain.
Yeah, so what Wireshark does is it puts your Ethernet port into a mode where basically it can read all of the packets you're getting along with everything else still getting the packets like normal. So everything acts like normal, but Wireshark is getting a copy of all the packets as well. And then what it does is just kind of displays like a hex dump of the packets, like the header, the information, whatever. But then it has these processors that get layered on top to understand like HTTP traffic. So like, oh, this is a GET request, and it'll actually like try to kind of tell you in an intelligent, readable way all of those things that you might want to know about that kind of information. And it's just one of those things, like if you need this, it's just really valuable and works really well. But it can be, it's like a power users tool. Like 90% of people probably who do a lot of computer programming never use it and never get into it. But, it can be really helpful and it's good to know about.
Yeah, definitely. No, this is
especially if you're doing any kind of network development.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing,
I made that 90% up. No, I'm thinking about. I have no idea what percentage.
Like 99, but
I don't know. Like, okay, sorry.
But no, it's awesome. I wrote a peer-to-peer app, and Wireshark was like crucial because I mean, it was sort of kind of like based on a heuristic who would connect to who and things like that. And Wireshark like explicitly was telling me, oh, these ports are talking to these ports, on the same machine and things like that. So if you're doing any kind of network programming, this will save your life.
Yep.
Save your time.
All right. Time for BASIC. So the history of BASIC is that it was created in Dartmouth College out of a research paper. Yep. So some programming languages are created by programmers and some by researchers who I guess could be considered programmers as well. Yeah. But we're kind of doing research topic. And we're talking like way back in the day. So what we were saying is like the 60s or pre-60s, like in the 50s.
Yeah, totally.
Actually, we should get the year.
Early 60s.
Totally unprepared.
I'll look this
up. It's okay. And it was based on
1964.
1964, all right. And so it's called Beginner's All-Purpose Symbolic Instruction Code. So and the whole
that's what the acronym is.
The acronym, so BASIC. And the whole idea was that there were programming languages at the time, but it all kind of like assumed you were like a hardcore programmer, like you wanted to really get into this, and this was supposed to be accessible, which I think it succeeds at.
Yeah,
like
totally.
I mean, like it trying to, and this is something we talked about a little before we started the show. Jason and I both have, we'll get to them in a minute, experiences with BASIC. But I mean, this idea, this romantic notion of creating a programming language where you just describe in English sentences or insert whatever language you speak, a native language,
yeah.
Just normal conversational text to a computer and have it do what you want. I mean, this is like the Jetsons, right? You tell Rosie, like, hey, I need this, right? And you just speak to the computer normally and it decides what to do.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you can't get more accessible than, it being your operating system, right? Like you turn on the computer and BASIC starts, you know?
Yeah, so that was the way, Commodore 64s, TRS-80s, Apple IIs,
Yep.
right? They boot them up and they just were in a BASIC interpreter.
Yep.
And it worked well for that because you could say things like, it wasn't printf or cout or what are these things? It was like print. And then you just gave it, this thing you wanted it to print. And then the next line, you say print hello world. And the next line, go to previous line, right? Go to 10. 10, print hello world. 20, go to 10, right?
If you think about it, go-tos are, so, you hear all these statements like go-to is evil and all stuff. And then somebody proved that, this wasn't a hard proof or anything, but that you could basically, like, if you use for loops and breaks and returns, you can, like, take any program that has go-tos and turn it into for loops with breaks, right?
So go-tos aren't necessary.
Yeah. So they're not necessary, and they're also not evil. Like, you could do the same thing. You could do equally evil things without using goto. But there's a appeal to it. The idea that, like, I'm going to label this line as like line 8, and then somewhere else like go to 8. Like, it's so much more intuitive than like a for loop where you have to like count up and each time this I has a different value. And it might not be the most useful, but for somebody who's just starting out, it makes more sense. Like, they look at that and they know immediately what's going on.
Yeah, it is true. I mean, the for loop concept takes a while to get around. You just kind of have to get to that epiphany stage, like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
And I mean, the whole issue that as programmers we understand is you need to be able to be very precise and actually saying go to this line. I mean, that's like very, if you say return, it's like return to what? And early BASIC didn't have functions or procedures. It's just, straight down the line, imperative programming, just, line after line.
We should mention that we're not covering Visual Basic.
Yes, okay. We'll go through. So, like, the first generations of BASIC, right? Like, you had to have every number line. There weren't procedures. You could do these go-tos, and you could have, kind of Boolean statements or whatever.
Yeah, so for people who don't know, the way the computer, and Patrick will probably know a lot better than I will, so I'll let him correct me, but the way I understand it is you have a program counter. So, if you have a multi-threaded...
The CPU has a program counter.
The CPU has a program counter for each thread, right, which says, like, what instruction that thread is on. Or in the case of BASIC, you just have one, which is for your thread. And so the program counter keeps stepping through until it encounters, like, a branch. So a branch might be, an if statement. So if something is true, then you're going to go to the next program counter. Otherwise, you're going to skip all the way down to the end of that if block, right? Or a go-to is an explicit branch. You're actually saying, take the program counter and set it to this other instruction. Well, in BASIC, it makes that, like, very explicit. Like, in the first version of BASIC, you literally wrote the program counter for all of your instructions.
Yeah, well, so you write the memory location, essentially, is what you're doing. So
right.
We say 10, and that's like line number, because line numbers don't have to be sequential. But you're essentially kind of stating, like, this is an abstracted version of memory. So the processor would just execute the first memory instruction, then go to the next one, and go to the next one, until I encounter, like you said, one of these things which said, affect the program counter in this way. Yep. Change it to this, or, -1 or +1 or whatever, And so BASIC, you had to put the line numbers there so you knew where you were, and they had to be increasing so that you would keep moving forward in the memory and going up, unless you did a go to. And then the second generation, we should say that Microsoft got its start in creating a version of BASIC, and that's kind of where they started. So we won't get into that large history, but
I don't know if this is still true, but the last time I checked, which was XP, it actually has QBasic in it.
Oh.
Like, if you just scan your whole computer for qbasic.exe. Now, I don't know anything about Vista or 7, but I know, like, 98 and XP and these 2000 actually had QBasic. And they actually, in the same directory, there is a bananas.bas. and it's a game where you're like a monkey and you have to throw a banana. It's a game.
I think I have to.
Basic.
I don't believe you. I'm gonna go try that. I'm gonna go try this right now. So that was the first generation of BASIC, and then the second generation came out, and this is quick BASIC, like you're talking about QBasic. This is where this came out, and these you didn't have to put line numbers if you didn't want. You could have more like just labels as opposed to line numbers, and then you could actually have procedures. So essentially functions. You could go to a function. And then, like we said, that notion of return from a function is kind of vague. Like, where are you returning to? Well, it depends on where you came from. Yep. So when you say go to, you're going to a line. And then you have to later you say go to some other line. Like it's not just like go. The return is go to something that was stored previously, and that's the stack. So the stack will store.
Have we talked about stack?
No, I don't think we have.
All right, why don't you cover it? I think you'd be an expert on this. So for people who don't know, Patrick majored in computer engineering, and I majored in computer science, and then. That alone makes him like much more applied and know things which are useful. I mean, crazy.
I think we're overstating this.
But then, like on top of that, I did all theory. Like I tried to stay away from all of the like databases and networking, and so that makes me even like less useful when it comes to like close to the metal stuff. So Patrick, why don't you explain stacks?
Okay, so a stack is a data structure. But also it's something that is represented in the hardware in CPUs, and it is what's called a last in, first out data structure. So this implies that the last piece of data that you gave to the data structure, when you go to get something from it, it'll be the first thing that comes out. Right. So think of it as like, it's called a stack, it's like a stack of papers. If you put one paper down, then put another on top and another on top, when you go to pull that last one, to pull the one on top, it's the most recent one you put there.
Yep.
So if you think about functions, that's the way it works. So if I have function A, calls function B, calls function C. When I return from C, I want to go back to B. And then when I return from B, I want to go back to A. So I want to go in the reverse order that I just came. And so that's what this return does. So you need somewhere to stick this address of where you came from, the pointer, the program counter of where you came from. So you stick it on one of these stack structures, and then you go to your other function. And then when that function finishes, or calls another function, but when it finishes and returns, it takes the thing on the stack and jumps to that location. And hopefully, if everything worked out right and nothing bad had happened, you'll go back to where you left. So if you were in function A and you called function B, it did its magic and then returned, then you'll be back one line past the line where you called function B in function A. Yep. So that line plus one. And that's also how things get passed to functions. So you also stick the parameters you're calling the function with, you stick them on the stack and they get popped back off too. So that's how things get returned as well. So you can get the results of the function, as it were. And so that's what the second generation did of BASIC, was add these procedures and allow for procedural programming, which comes before object-oriented programming, which is what the third generation attempted to do. And that's where you get things like Visual Basic, so VB Script, which is a way to script Microsoft products, maybe others as well. I don't know the licensing agreements there. And like Visual Basic.net, and these kinds of things. They tried to introduce the notions of object-oriented programming to BASIC, but we're not really going to talk about those today. This is a nostalgia trip.
Yeah, totally. I mean, VB.net has all sorts of awesome stuff in it, and we'll cover it in another show. But today we're going to just focus on BASIC.
So, we both had experiences doing this, and it's one of the things that I consider programming in BASIC to not have been really programming. It was, and it is, but I fooled around with various, like I said, the print. I guess I didn't say this on air. So it's like, my first program I remember is like 10, print Patrick rules. 20, go to 10. Execute, right? And then Patrick rules, like all the way down. Yeah. And then like you like call in your brother, hey, look, man, the computer knows I rules.
We would have this arms race. So my cousins were all kind of techies, and most of them were older than me. And so we all had like the Commodore 64 manual, and we used this as sort of a way to sort of like see who the alpha programmer was at the time. So, someone started with the 10 print, Lin rules, 20 go to 10, and my cousin was like, check it out, And then I figured out a way to like print mine so that it like moved, it like kind of bounced left and right on the bottom of the screen, because like it just go back to 10, but it put a bunch of spaces in front, and so it looked like it was kind of bouncing. And then like another one of my cousins found out you could actually write to specific places on the screen. Like you could say, I want like this row and column to have like a letter in it. And so she actually made her name like bounce like as if it was a little pong ball or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was super fun.
So I mean, but that kind of encouraging that kind of fun experimentation is really a good way to learn.
Yeah,
you know,
totally.
It's still another leap to go to programming as a, you know, getting things done kind of thing.
Yep.
But those early lessons are valuable, and the fact that it's so approachable, basic was for kids. Like it's easy to get started in, and even though you might move on to other stuff, those early lessons, you know, about, you know, oh, I want to move, but then I want to go back at some time, so I need some sort of loop that's counting. Yeah. Right? You're introducing kind of, even if you don't know it, you're learning these for loops. And then later, when you learn the proper concepts, you can map them back to those early things that you were doing.
Yeah. I mean, I noticed that, like, I've taken a lot of different classes and things, like, just on the web. Like, I recently took Rails for Zombies. Have you seen this class?
I have seen that one.
Yeah. I took this class, and pretty much nothing stuck.
So now you're a zombie.
Yes, brains, Rails. So nothing stuck. And like when I went to I recently made a website in Rails, I forgot everything I had to go back and relearn. And the thing is, when you have a vision in mind, whether it's printing your name over and over again or making a website or whatever, and you're learning something as part of fulfilling that vision, that's when it seems to stick. You know, it's so much more effective than trying to learn something through a class or something like that.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
And Basic gives you the ability, it's easy enough where you can start with zero. You know, like you could start not knowing anything about programming and just have like a vision of, I want to make like a little dot move around the screen or something. I mean, you can't say I want to make, you know, Quake or something.
I was just thinking Quake. Oh man,
that's awesome. Or you know, Minecraft or something.
Dwarf Fortress.
Like, yes, maybe you could, actually that might not be out of bounds. But anyways, so if you have the book, apparently. You can do it. So yeah, I mean, but you know, if you have a simple vision, you could start with nothing, just start typing in Basic, and every time you can't do something, you look it up on the internet and get your way through it, and it will be just an incredibly fulfilling learning experience.
So I mean, we in some ways, I guess as programmers, you move on from Basic, but I mean, there are a lot of people who get valuable paying jobs, you know, just writing, you know, essentially Basic style things, and that's great, and it is amazing that something that was written so long ago kind of still sticks around, even if it's not vitally important like it once was. You know, it's still with us. Like we all have fond memories of it. There's still, you know, things you can find, we'll talk about later, like on the internet or whatever. You can just find versions of it free that keep being updated, and every version of Windows apparently was shipping with a version of Basic.
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, there's VBA, which is Visual Basic for Applications, and it actually started off as just, I guess, BA. But like in really early versions of Excel and stuff like that. And you would just write Basic to, you know, manipulate the cells and things like that. And there's people who, as Patrick said, just do this even to this day. Yeah.
I mean, so we traditionally go through like strengths and weaknesses. I mean, we can do that. It's a little strange for this one, but I think it's so, like Jason said, so easy to sit down with essentially a blank line and get something to happen, and that's really rewarding. Yay! I made the computer do something, right? Like I programmed it, and that's amazing. And that's in part due to the approachable syntax. I mean, it does read a lot. Like we said, instead of like printf or cout, it's like print, go to, if, right? I mean, these things are somewhat more understandable and closer to what people know already in their you know, normal way of communicating.
Yeah, and something that I just remembered, when I was in college, there's this guy who was going crazy over Dark Basic.
Dark? Is that like the vampire Basic?
Yeah, it's sort of like Rails for Zombies.
Oh!
There's a lot in common. But so Dark Basic is, I think it's commercial. Let me see.
You write games in this. I think I do remember this.
Yeah.
So actually allow you to do like graphics programming and stuff.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's free or not, but basically it's a way to get access to DirectX, which is Microsoft's like rendering library, like a rendering platform. And so you can write basic programs, but instead of just kind of printing your name and doing cheesy things that we were talking about, you could actually like create like little sprites. You could load images and have them like move around. And so for people out there like budding game designers and people who want to sort of like write a game really quick but have no experience in programming, you should definitely check out Dark Basic.
Yeah, I remember, I mean, those were the first games I wrote. Not that I've written many games, but, you know, something like you were talking about, but I actually, like, there was a way to draw to the screen, and so I would learn about, like, erasing the screen and then drawing a little square and making it bounce off the corners, and learned about flipping the velocities, right? Which I didn't know was a term, but like, oh, I need to move 5 pixels to the right. But when I hit the screen, I need to know where the screen's at, and then I need to make that negative and move plus minus 5 pixels, right? And like learning how like that's how that works and figuring it out and that sense of triumph you have. And then also I made like try to make like a little Pac-Man thing where the mouth would open and close. Instead of using, which later learn they have sprites to do that, right? Like just various animation. I would actually draw like a pi circle with the angle, and then the angle would get smaller and bigger, right?
Oh,
and
that's
it would
awesome.
kind of go across, and you don't know any different, so you just make do.
So this is kind of like a little segue here, but I was reading this really interesting article on. I've been doing a lot of drawing lately, as I mentioned a while ago, and maybe in an earlier episode. And I have one of those Wacom tablets, those USB drawing tablets, and I've been reading a lot of books and papers on drawing as well. And one of the things that I thought was just fascinating, and I didn't believe it until I actually saw examples of it, is if you have 2 frames. So imagine like you have one frame where Pac-Man's mouth is open and another frame where his mouth is closed, and you just like flip-flop between these 2 frames. It will look like weird and cheesy, and it won't look right. But if you have 3 frames, or I guess in this case 5 frames, so you have like mouth open, halfway closed, closed, halfway closed, open. Like if you just add that 3rd frame, there's something in your brain where your brain can't remember 3 frames back, and it looks like fluid motion. Like this sounds crazy, but if you just Google that or something, or maybe I'll post a link on the blog, they have examples where they show like a kick. So almost all of the Street Fighter 2 is like 3 frames, like all the kicks and punches. Like it feels really fluid, but it's just 3 frames. And they take out the middle frame, and it's just dramatic. Like you look at this and you're like, this is garbage.
I guess it makes sense because the guy's standing there not punching, and then the arm is all the way out, but you don't really know how it got there. Yeah. But if you draw one in the middle, like
it's just amazing kind of your brain how fills 3 is enough.
Yeah,
it's just shocking. Like 3 is like the magic number, and it's based on some psychological or neuroscientific thing. Yeah.
So weaknesses of BASIC. We've been singing the praises of BASIC.
Yeah. So
be the bearer of bad news.
Yeah, sadly, BASIC is not going to let you make Quake 3. Yeah, maybe Dark BASIC will, but of course you're leveraging all those C++ libraries. But BASIC by itself, it's just not only because it's interpreted, because we've talked about interpreted languages before, but specifically BASIC, just kind of the way that it's designed with like no stack frames. You have to like manually manage that yourself, and there's a lot of other reasons. It'll never be like high performing. The other thing is it doesn't have a lot of the bells and whistles that would make your life easy as a developer. So it doesn't have multi-threading, doesn't have object-oriented paradigm. It's not going to let you make that killer app. At least it's going to teach you what you need to know to get there, but
yeah, it's definitely still has its uses.
Yeah, totally.
And then tools, like we said, there are many versions of free BASIC that are around. It's actually really hard to search for BASIC, as I found out, because basic programming, and then they just like talk about introduction to programming. It's like, no, I want basic programming, not simple programming. So it is a little hard to search for, but you can find information about it. And there are many like web-based versions, free interpreters to download. And it's still a great thing to start today. I think if you have kids or you do one day, I think it'd be a great way to introduce them, to programming. And this is, like I said, this is how my earliest programming was done in BASIC.
Yep. And BASIC is, I don't know if this is still true, it probably is, but it's in all the Texas Instruments calculators. So, when you get that fancy like scientific calculator in like 7th grade or 6th grade, whenever they start requiring that, you can program in it. You can make games in BASIC, as we both did.
Yeah, so we were actually talking about this. So getting one when we were in high school, I had a TI-83, I think it was. But I think even like 82s, and I don't remember all the numbers now.
Yeah, I had an 82. Yeah.
Okay. They had a version of BASIC, and you had to type on the like keys weirdly to get the letters. Yeah. And somehow, like I guess as crazy as we think it is, people doing the SMS messaging on like the 9 or 10.
Yeah, the 10, T9.
Oh
thing.
Man. But people doing the same kind of thing. We were doing that on calculators, and it started off like a math class. Our teacher would say like, oh, you couldn't like. Eventually, there was a way to like download from the internet. You could download programs and run them. But if you could like program something yourself, like you could use it for like geometry to compute the hypotenuse of a triangle, right? So you like code in simple formulas into our calculators, and then eventually, like I wrote like both of us turned out we wrote like a little RPG.
Yep.
You know, so I like a little turn-based fighting game where it was generating random numbers and deciding if you would hit the guy or not, and you just like really simple things, but you know, you learned a lot.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the other thing is we had this awesome arms race in our math class. So, for example, we started writing programs to solve a lot of the geometry problems. And then the teacher, she caught on to it. And she was cool with us writing the programs. The problem is that they were getting into the hands of like all the students in the class. And some students like were just using the program. They didn't really know what was going on. They were just putting in the answer. So she decided that she's going to like make you wipe your calculator. But I didn't want my calculator to get wiped because I had all these games on it that I was working on, right? So I wrote a program that looked like the wipe your calculator screen, but when you hit it didn't do anything. And then you know, when you're in like middle school or high school, you want to be cool. So I started showing it off, and other people started writing it. So then we all had the program. Then the teacher found out about the program, and so we ended up with this arms race of like, could you keep your stuff on the calculator?
That's horrible. Yeah, we didn't have that, but we did have people who would like learned you like she would allow the teacher would allow, maybe it was a he, I don't remember now, would allow programs, but they wouldn't actually write programs. They didn't know how or didn't care to learn, and I wasn't about to get in big trouble or lose my ability to use it, so I wasn't going to share.
Yeah.
I guess I'm meaner than you or something.
Man, so you ran like a geometry program mafia or something?
No. I just
premium.
wouldn't share it at all because I wanted to be able to use it.
Oh,
I
you
needed
didn't
a
have
good
the
grade.
circle of trust?
No.
Like the circle was just you?
Yes.
As a point?
I was the earliest Google Plus with only me in the circle. And so, but people would just, instead of writing a program, they would just write like a cheat sheet in the code, right? So the code could never run; it wouldn't work. But it would just like write out all the formulas and equations and everything.
Yeah, the teacher in Spanish class is like, "Wow, these kids are using math to solve Spanish." Oh man, that's pretty funny.
So this hasn't been an especially serious version of Programming Throwdown, but it's a trip down.
We had some heavy episodes, and we had Go, which is like heavy systems programming, like, you know, coroutines, all this stuff, and we had Java, which is like so much stuff in Java. So we want to keep it light this time.
Yeah, have some fun stuff every once in a while.
Yeah.
There are a lot of programming languages out there, so
yeah,
we got to cover the fun ones sometime too.
Yeah, totally.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for kind comments and emails and Google Plus replies. And we went through a little bit of changing with the servers, which was fun for Jason.
Yeah, I thought I could host Programming Throwdown in my house.
So thank you all for DDoSing Jason's house.
Yeah. So yeah, first of all, we have a lot of fans, way more than we thought, which is totally awesome. I'm going to start seeing if I can collect some metrics to find out exactly how many fans we
will
have
find
and things
you.
like that.
Just kidding.
And their houses. No, I'm just kidding. And their address. No, but we have tons of fans. We love you guys. It's awesome. Way more fans than we thought. And yeah, you guys totally DDoSed my house to the point where I couldn't even check my own email.
Oh, sad.
So we're back on reliable hosting though. So this episode you should be able to download it at full bandwidth.
Yeah. So apologize for any inconveniences anybody had with that, but we are back on track.
Totally.
All right. Until next time.
See you guys later.
The intro music is Axo by Binar Pilot. Programming Throwdown is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Share-alike 2.0 license. You're free to share, copy, distribute, transmit the work, to remix, adapt the work, but you must provide attribution to Patrick and I, and share alike in kind.